You guys told me to go to a Novus Ordo, and you also told me to go to a High Mass. So I did. Well, hey guys, what is up? Welcome back to my channel. My name is Austin, this is Gospel Simplicity, and I am so glad to have you here watching this video today, and I hope you're glad to be here because many of you asked for this very video, so here we have it. Now, to backtrack a little, for those of you that might be confused, why am I, a Protestant and evangelical, making videos about different types of Catholic masses? That's a very fair question, and I want to answer that for you real quick. So around 2 months ago, I made a video about my experience going to a Catholic men's group for a few months, and really I didn't think much of it at the time, but I thought, this video, I think it could really help people and start to open up just more fruitful and healthier dialogue between Catholics and Protestants. I thought maybe, 50 people will see it, that'll be that, and I'll just go on my merry way. Well, it turns out people really loved it, and it has sparked incredible conversations that I have loved being a part of as we talk about how can we meaningfully engage with Catholics as Protestants, or how can Catholics meaningfully engage with Protestants. I have this fundamental belief that we get better when we engage with people who are different than us. And I think that specifically as Christians, we need to be engaging with people on the other side so that we can better understand them. If we are called to love all people, the first step is getting to know where they're coming from. But even more than that, as Christians, we are called to unity with one another. And as I really just mull over Jesus' high priestly prayer in John chapter 17, I am just struck by his heart for the church to be one. And look, I don't have all the answers for what that might look like, but I want to do my part to see, well, how can we at least start taking steps towards that? And so as that video has gained traction and become by far my most popular video, and just really set me on this path of exploring Catholicism specifically, and how can we as evangelicals or Protestants engage with Catholics and understand them better, I've begun making more videos. And recently I made a video of attending my first Mass, because that was one of the biggest pieces of feedback I received on that first video was, hey, I really appreciate this, but if you want to understand Catholicism, you should really go to a Mass. And so I did, and if you want to check that out, I'll link it up there somewhere. And I went to an extraordinary form Mass, but a low Mass on a Saturday morning, and all this terminology is new to me, doing my best to keep up. But I went to a Mass, and it was a really great experience. I went to St. John Cantius, and I think if you watch that video, you'll find that it is an absolutely beautiful church. However, in light of that video, I got some more feedback that, hey, great that you went to a Mass, but hey, if you're gonna go to a Latin Mass, you should really go to a High Mass. That's like the more like true, full experience of a Latin Mass. Or a lot of people, perhaps even more people, saying, hey, that's cool you went to a Latin Mass, but that's really like a niche thing. We're in a post-Vatican II world. You should really check out a Novus Ordo. They said, a Mass in English will really help you understand what's going on since, well, you don't speak Latin. And that is more representative of what most Catholics are familiar with today. So I took it upon myself to do both of those things, and just yesterday, on Sunday, August 30th, I went to both a High Mass at St. John Cantius at 12:30, as well as a Novus Ordo Mass at the Holy Name Cathedral, also in downtown Chicago. I want to start with my thoughts on the Latin Mass because, well, it just makes sense since I went there first, and now I've technically been to two, both in the high and low form. Now, I have to say, the thing that absolutely struck me about this service, above everything else, was the sheer hospitality that was shown to me. The video that I made about exploring my first Mass at St. John Cantius has really gotten a lot of traction. In under a week, it's over 20,000 views, which thank you so much for all the support. That really blows my mind. And it just so happened that many people from that church had seen the video. In fact, one gentleman stopped me on my way up and said, hey, are you the guy from the video? Which I have to say I've never gotten before, but I said, I suppose I am. And he volunteered to tour me around the church, explain the entire Mass to me. And Craig, if you watch this, your hospitality, truly, it was so amazing. I am so grateful for you. I learned so much. He knew every detail of that church, explained all of the iconography and all of the murals and just the symbolism behind everything, the intentionality in that church. I mean, evangelical, Catholic, I don't even care if you're an atheist, you should visit St. John Cantius. It is beautiful, and if you can really soak in everything that's going on there in the art, I mean, you will be stunned. However, it wasn't actually just Craig that recognized me from the video. Another lady recognized me, and it just so happens that St. John's has recently published a missal, and they were selling them in the back, but she had seen my video and actually gave one to me. And so thank you so much. I believe that was Audrey or Andrea. I'm so sorry. It was one of those, but thank you so much. This was so kind and so helpful. So many people recommended in the comments of the last video, like, hey, if you want to understand what's going on, get a missal. And this is beautiful. It has like symbols and pictures in it that really helped me understand what was going on. And I will say, once I understood, I was shocked by just how saturated in scripture the Latin Mass is. And yes, it's in Latin, so it's a little hard to understand, but when you can follow along, you see that nearly everything that is said in the Mass comes from scripture, which was really humbling as a Protestant, and just really laid to rest that, you know, Catholics don't read the Bible or whatever. Like, it is certainly a centerpiece of the Mass, and was just a beneficial thing for me to learn. So thank you everyone there for your hospitality. I so enjoyed it. To summarize that, I would say that the real pros of the Latin Mass, for me at least, lie in its beauty. I mean, St. John Cantius is just extraordinary. And my understanding is that most places that do Latin Mass are more of these historic, really pretty cathedrals. And so in that, it really communicates in an interesting way. I mean, it's almost this mystical experience being wrapped up in the beauty of it all, and the chanting and the smells and the bells and all. Like, it is wonderful, and it's truly a service that engages all of your senses. I will say I was also impressed that there were readings in English as well as a homily in English, so it wasn't just completely incapable of being understood by those that don't understand Latin. And that was a little bit of a misconception for me, I think, before I ever attended one of these. And that was really helpful to see, and I could see you going to this, especially if you have a missal, and really just getting a lot out of it, and really just being stimulated and learning, which was one of my critiques in the past video that I made. I could see you learning a good bit, while again, it is not necessarily focused on the intellectual side. However, I will say the Latin Mass still has some cons. I would see this being really difficult to pull off in many churches, and I just don't think it would have the same feeling if you were doing this in like a gymnasium or in a recently built church that's not constructed like a church, or in some type of multi-purpose space. It would just feel really strange. I mean, maybe you could, and you need a lot of people to pull this off, to do the chant well and to do all the different aspects of it. So just logistically, it's difficult. And again, it's just not as easy to understand as the Novus Ordo, which we will get to in a second. For those reasons, I can definitely see why people said, hey, that's really cool that you went, but you should go to a Novus Ordo. Latin Mass isn't really the place to start. So let's talk about the Novus Ordo. I went to Holy Name Cathedral, which is absolutely beautiful in its own right, and I believe it's the seat of the Archdiocese of this area. I believe I saw that on Wikipedia. Don't quote me on that if I'm wrong. But it was a beautiful church, but completely different than St. John Cantius in its own way, which is a little surprising, but it almost has a minimalistic side to it. I mean, there's not just icons everywhere, there's not art everywhere. It's beautiful in the construction, but it's just has a whole lot less going on than Cantius. But the service itself was very approachable. It kind of matched the building. While the building, yes, it is grand, and I'm not trying to downplay that, it's a little more sparse in the design, and I know decoration isn't the word you would use because it's also highly symbolic, but forgive me. But the service is more stripped down. It was simple, and part of that was really nice. It was approachable. People seemed to be a little more come as you are, as we say in evangelical circles. Like, jeans seemed a lot cooler there. I mean, there was people in workout clothes. It was very just open and accessible. And being in English, it was also accessible in terms of being understood. It had a great homily and many readings as well, but there was just a whole lot less pomp and circumstance to the whole thing. And I think that really boils down the pros and cons. I mean, it's approachable, it's easy to understand, it would definitely be easier to pull off in many settings, but it does lose some of that just sensory awe that you have in a Latin Mass in a cathedral like St. John's. It doesn't have that kind of mystical flair to it with all of the chanting, but it was really good and easy to understand, and I feel like, again, you could learn a lot from it. So kind of to compare the two, and in conclusion, I really think it comes down to just different strokes for different folks. Like there's just different things that are going to appeal for different people, and that's fine. And something that's been a little off-putting to me, if I can just be honest for a second, has been some of the infighting that I've seen between Catholics on traditional Latin Mass only, or Novus Ordo, or Vatican II is of the devil, it's for Protestant. Like, that's, I mean, I don't know. I'm not trying to dive into this fight. I don't really have a dog in that fight, but it's just off-putting for me as a Protestant, and I think it might be something you all want to sort out. I mean, they both seem to serve a purpose, and I'm not, again, I know I'm an outsider, I don't want to get into too much controversy, but I just don't see, for me, why it's necessary to have this fighting over it. I will say another interesting thing that I noticed is they seem to have, and this could just be the two churches, but almost a different political flair to them in a way. The traditional Latin Mass had a very conservative feeling to it. I mean, they seemed like more conservative Catholics. You saw more veils there. You saw people coming in buses because they have like 13 kids, and everyone is dressed to the nines. Also, people just don't seem to wear as many face masks, which kind of annoyed me. That's okay. And I also thought it was interesting. Now, this was just because of Labor Day weekend, but they played like a patriotic song at the end on the organ, which was kind of off-putting to me as just like, ooh, let's not mix politics and religion. Maybe I'm importing my own biases here, but that threw me off a little and kind of killed some of the like reverent feel and atmosphere that the Mass had created. On the other side, at Holy Name, it seemed very just like well organized. Everyone was 6 feet apart. They were not messing around with this. Everyone was like up on the COVID guidelines. And it was also all female readers. There were no altar boys. There was just less kind of like of those traditional things. People weren't as dressed up. And so this could just be anecdotal, but I was able to kind of see that contrast. They talked about social justice at this church, which was just interesting to note. All in all, though, it was a great experience getting to do this back to back and compare those two experiences. And again, like, I'm not an expert, I'm just sharing my thoughts, mainly because you guys have asked, and it's helped me understand Catholicism a little better. Hopefully that will help me dialogue with the many Catholics that surround us. And again, my goal for this and all of this is that we can have healthier and more fruitful dialogue that can hopefully lead to more unity between Christians. And I don't know exactly how that works. I wish I did. But I think these conversations are the first steps. And as Protestants, I think we look at the Catholic world and we have to see that it is ginormous. And if we can link arms with so many of these brothers and sisters in Christ for the common good and to promote the gospel, and man, like, that is a serious reservoir of people that we can be, rather than fighting with, we can be linking arms with. Do we have serious disagreements? Yes. Let's hash those out. Let's work through them. I'm working through them myself, and you might see some of that in real time. But that's the heart behind these videos. I hope you enjoy it, and I hope they help you learn and grow as well. To all of the people that have been supporting this journey, thank you so much. To the people at Cantius, again, thank you so much for your hospitality. And I want to let you guys know that the tour I received was amazing, the explanation was amazing. I would love to explain something like that for you guys, so hopefully I'll be able to do another tour there, but with cameras, and be able to invite you into that. For now, I know many of you have said that I need to go to an Eastern Orthodox church, and believe me, I am working on it. That is my next goal, because I don't want to ostracize our Eastern Orthodox brothers and sisters as well. I think you'll find it really interesting and that we can really learn a lot. In any case, thank you guys so much for watching this video. Truly, that means so much to me. I am so grateful for your support, and I appreciate you taking the time to hear my thoughts. But I don't want this to just be about my thoughts. I'd love to hear your thoughts as well. So go ahead and leave a comment down below letting me know what you thought and what you think about this whole thing, whether you're evangelical, Catholic, other. I would love to hear your perspective. It is truly a privilege getting to do that. If you're new, this channel is Gospel Simplicity, a place where we're passionate about the beautiful simplicity and transformative power of the gospel, the good news about Jesus. We're out to talk about life, Jesus, and the journey of faith in a real, honest, and open way. So if that at all interests you, I'd encourage you to hit subscribe down below to become a part of what we're doing here on this channel. To those of you that have already subscribed, thank you so much. I am so grateful to each and every one of you, and I'm so glad to have you as a part of this community. Until next time, be on the lookout for more videos, and as always, go out and love God and love others, because truly, above all else, that'll change the world. Peace, love you guys so much. I'll see you next time.